Peak Retirement, the 5 Pillars to Protect Your Wealth and Live the Retirement You Deserve. Authored and narrated by Schmitz Jr. Introduction. I was hosting a retirement workshop on our 5-pillar approach, which I've done hundreds of times, and something happened that has stuck with me. One of the attendees, John, now a client of ours, approached me afterwards, shook my hand, and pointed to the slide of the retirement mountain pictured on the next page. I'll never forget what he said. It encapsulates why I have built a firm that helps people create a comprehensive retirement plan. He said, "Joe, this mountain analogy and the 5 pillars you discussed tonight are what I need help with. I don't want to make a stupid mistake with what I've worked so hard to accumulate over the last 40 years. I've never planned a retirement before. I need help so I can live the retirement I've been dreaming of." We built the 5-pillar approach for people like John, diligent savers who have worked hard to accumulate their retirement savings and don't want to miss things that will negatively affect their finances in later years. We describe many of the clients we work with as Midwestern millionaires. Why? Because most of our clients have Midwestern values. They are diligent savers and hard workers, frugal, honest, and conservative people. Those values have enabled these clients to build a net worth of $1 million or more as a plan for retirement, which requires help from a more advanced team. These are the people for whom our 5-pillar approach is most effective. I even wrote a book about this, and it was a national bestseller. They haven't built their net worth by making $1 million a year. They have done it by having good jobs, putting in the time and effort, and taking the right steps of saving and spending less than they make. Now they are motivated to be the best possible stewards of their wealth and to avoid leaving money on the table. We often tell them, you may not need more money at this point, you may just need a better plan. John scheduled a discovery session with our firm to learn more about the 5-pillar approach. He told us what he wanted to achieve with our firm: to establish a tax plan to keep more money in his pocket and less in Uncle Sam's. To develop an investment plan that ensures he does not have to check it every day, research the investment he chooses, or worry about missing opportunities. He was also worried about taking on more risk than is necessary to accomplish his goals. To create an income plan that provides a paycheck for the rest of his life so he doesn't have to worry about running out of money. To establish a healthcare plan that includes the correct supplemental Medicare plans and calculates for out-of-pocket healthcare expenses or a potential long-term care need. To establish an estate plan that has all his estate planning documents in place, power of attorneys, will, trust, etc., and takes care of his wife and adult children when he passes away, ensuring they pay the least amount of tax and avoid probate. Our 5-pillar approach covers every one of John's concerns. At Peak Retirement Planning, we have a specific process. We don't improvise when helping clients steward their life savings. We focus on serving those in or near retirement, people in their 50s and 60s. Most of our clients are diligent savers with substantial tax-deferred retirement savings. They are attracted to our comprehensive focus on retirement planning, and particularly tax planning, as you can see in another book I wrote, I Hate Taxes, an Amazon bestseller in the taxes and retirement planning categories. As you will learn in this book, our process differentiates us from many financial planning firms. Other firms concentrate on investment planning, but investments are only one piece of the pie. To have a complete financial plan, you need all 5 pillars of our 5-pillar approach: tax planning, investment planning, income planning, healthcare planning, estate planning. Our boutique approach of working with a specific crowd and not trying to serve everyone means we're able to deliver on all 5 of these essential areas. We're also an independent retirement planning firm, which means we are not forced to push any specific investment or products. We sit on the same side of the table as our clients and help them decide what is best for them. Our team approach also differentiates us and allows us to deliver this high-level service. Multiple eyes viewing each plan ensures we don't miss anything. Every team member is an expert in a specific area rather than jack of all trades, master of none. All our advisors are fully licensed fiduciaries and are either CFP professionals or are in the process of becoming CFP professionals. I have personally instructed each of our advisors in our intensive and extensive training program, all about maximizing financial situations for those in or near retirement. We stay educated on topics within the current financial environment so our clients can quickly take advantage of any opportunities that arise. Part of our process is to meet with our clients at least annually, and more often if we need to. This allows us and them to adjust the plan for changes and do ongoing tax planning each year. We also personally reach out to them every quarter to add value to their plan and ensure we are not missing anything. We're available anytime to answer questions, and we always reply back to our clients within 24 hours. We update our clients' investment portfolios as required. Why am I sharing all this? I started Peak Retirement Planning because I saw too many gaps in the financial planning industry, and I saw too many people in or near retirement not getting the guidance they needed to enjoy the retirement they deserved. Retirees were missing out on having all of the 5 pillars working together in one place. I have always thought that if you want to see change, you make it yourself. So I did. I started on a mission at age 25 to build Peak Retirement Planning into the organization it is today. People noticed that our service model was innovative, cutting edge, and different from most. In just over 2 short years, the business went from 1 person to 20 team members. I connected with close and trusted family and friends about working with me. When asked to get on a rocket ship, just get on is what I told them. My first 4 hires were my mom, a friend since 4th grade, and 2 friends from college. They quickly understood Peak Retirement's mission and its impact. This was something special. We've come a long way. One person alone could never do what our team has accomplished. Our success requires a dedicated and committed team, and particularly a group of clients who trust our mission and then deliver on what we promise. I'm writing this book to encourage you to work with a firm that does all the planning of our 5-pillar approach. Whether you work with us or someone else, make sure they work hard for you and provide a full service. Note that these 5 pillars are interdependent. Preparing one of them without the others is incomplete planning and places your retirement at risk. Begin your retirement plan on the next page with Pillar 1, Tax Planning. Chapter 1, Pillar 1, Tax Planning. Tax will be the most significant expense in retirement, yet they are talked about and planned for the least. I could write a whole book about tax planning. Oh wait, I already have. Read my book, I Hate Taxes, to get more insight on my favorite financial planning topic, taxes. To be clear, I don't necessarily hate taxes. I'm not anti-American. I chose that title for the book because it's eye-catching and people might feel compelled to read it. I do believe, however, that the U.S. government isn't the best steward of our tax dollars. I agree with certain things that my tax dollars are used for, like the roads I drive on and the libraries I go to. However, our government overspends on unnecessary things that don't always match my values and beliefs. Because of that, I would like to save taxes on the money I've worked hard for. I'd like to pay less tax all the time, especially if the tax code encourages me to do so and gives me opportunities to pay the least amount possible as long as I follow the rules. Tax planning is the first pillar in our retirement strategy because it's a cornerstone of everything we do at Peak Retirement Planning. But the pillars are interdependent. Taxes play a part in each of the other 4 pillars, and we plan accordingly. Pillar 2, Investment Planning. Ensure that your investments grow in a tax-smart way. Pillar 3, Income Planning. Ensure that your investments are taken out in a tax-smart way when you need to live off of them in retirement. Pillar 4, Healthcare Planning. Ensure that you use your assets in a tax-smart way when paying for unexpected healthcare costs. Pillar 5, Estate Planning. Ensure that you leave your assets behind in a tax-smart way to your beneficiaries to make them the largest beneficiary and not Uncle Sam. Based on feedback from our clients, it is our first pillar that attracted them to work with us. Most people have their retirement savings in tax-deferred investments like 401ks and individual retirement accounts, IRAs, which haven't been taxed yet. What happens when you withdraw funds from these investments? You must pay tax. This will increase your income and potentially force you to pay more taxes over time at expected higher tax rates, since most experts suggest tax rates will increase. Let me give you a rundown of what is essential for tax planning in your financial plan and what we look to accomplish with our clients, using tax software, tax calculators, and tax reports. Don't improvise when doing your tax planning. A deep analysis will determine what decisions you should make when taking income from your investments and deciding which tax planning strategies will best serve you. We typically spend at least 10 to 20 hours building out a tax plan for our clients, considering not only what their taxes look like today, but what they'll look like in the future. We also examine all areas that affect taxes. We look at more than the federal income tax rates when making decisions. We must understand how our decisions affect state taxes and the tax you could potentially pay on Social Security when you start receiving your benefit in retirement. We must recognize the impact of capital gains and the increase in Medicare premiums when you have a higher income. We must also understand the effects of planning for other specific deductions and credits. And for those who have really done a good job saving, we must focus on the estate tax and any inheritance taxes. At Peak Retirement Planning, we use advanced tax planning software and calculators that produce in-depth and accurate reports that help us use our expertise and save our clients money on taxes over their lifetime. This is one reason we recommend you work with a professional. Tax software can be expensive for an individual to buy independently and even more challenging to learn to use accurately. The tax savings alone is worth the cost of a competent and detailed financial planning team specializing in tax planning. For most of our clients, the tax planning we provide can possibly save them hundreds of thousands of dollars or more in taxes over their lifetime. For some, correctly implementing the strategies we advise could even result in tax savings worth millions. Reducing lifetime taxes. Reducing taxes is our primary goal when doing tax planning. Sometimes this requires our clients to pay more taxes now. An unusual thought, but remember, we have a long-term plan to pay Uncle Sam the least over a lifetime. Our goal is not to pay the least every year, especially when we have times like we're seeing right now where tax rates are lower than they might be in the future. It might make more sense to prepay your taxes now rather than later. Required minimum distribution planning. Required minimum distributions, RMDs, are when the government forces you to withdraw money from your tax-deferred investments. This is required when you turn 73. If you're born in 1960 or later, this is now 75 for you. I always joke with people and ask, is it ever a good thing when the government forces us to do something? It's usually not a good thing for most Americans. The other concern with RMDs is the older you get, the more money the government requires you to take out from these accounts. You've probably heard this referred to as a retirement tax time bomb. It's up to you to plan for this time bomb. Your RMDs may land you in a higher tax bracket or force you to make your withdrawals in the future at higher tax rates, assuming that tax rates increase as most expect. There are many tax planning strategies you can start today that will reduce this burden on your retirement. But when you're not proactive, you're trusting the government to decide what tax rate applies and how much is taken out of your life savings. Do you think the IRS will make your taxes higher or lower in the future? Roth conversions. Roth conversions are one of the most popular tax planning strategies today. We do Roth conversions for the majority of our clients each year. A Roth conversion takes money from the tax-deferred investments we've been talking about and transitions them to tax-free investments, like a Roth IRA. What is required to do a Roth conversion? Pay taxes, of course. No one likes paying taxes, but would you rather pay the taxes now at a lower rate or later at a higher rate? When considering Roth conversions, we ask two questions. First question is, should we do a Roth conversion? And the second question is, how much should we convert? Roth conversions are not for everyone. They are typically for those who have more saved in their tax-deferred bucket. We usually see it makes a lot of sense for those who have $1 million or more saved and or have a pension. If we expect their RMD, pension, and Social Security benefit will force them into a similar or higher tax bracket during retirement, then this could be a strategy to reduce taxes over their retirement. Additionally, for those who anticipate future tax rate increases, a Roth conversion can even be more valuable. How much to convert gets tricky. This is where the tax software, calculators, and reports come into play. It all comes down to ensuring you pay the lowest tax rate possible on your tax-deferred investment. The choice of how much to convert to a Roth is not simply a matter of tax brackets. Other variables such as Medicare premiums, Social Security tax, net investment income tax, alternative minimum tax, and other phase-outs mentioned above will factor into the decision. It takes work to see where you are now and where you are expected to be in the future to make the best decision. Converting too much can lead to overpaying in taxes by pushing yourself into higher tax situations unnecessarily. Converting too little can lead to not taking advantage of lower tax rates and leaving money on the table. It takes a specific process and understanding to find the sweet spot when deciding how much to convert. Charitable planning. For our charitable-minded clients, the charitable planning area of tax planning is essential. We never encourage clients to give to charities merely for tax benefits, but we always ensure those given to charities do so with the most tax efficiency. There are simple and complex strategies for giving to charities. If you're giving $5,000 or more a year to charities and have no particular strategy in place, I would encourage you to get help. You may be leaving money on the table, money that could be given to your charities or saved in your pocket. For our clients who give a significant amount of money to charity, we don't want them to give out of their pocket. We want them to implement strategies like a donor advised fund or a qualified charitable distribution. Tax prep. We feel the collaboration between our CPAs and certified financial planner professionals is incredibly important for our clients to ensure nothing is missed. This has been a big gap we have seen. Many advisors tell people you need to find a CPA to help you with tax planning, but then the CPA tells them, I only do tax prep, not tax planning. CPAs look backward and are reactive. They're not looking forward and being proactive like those of us who specialize in tax planning. Being proactive means working with a tax planning expert now on a long-term plan for your future income and taxes on it. We feel this is something that should be done in-house so both professionals are working together. This is why we have a CPA team to make the best decisions for our clients when filing their taxes from January to April. Our team then analyzes our clients' tax returns every year. We will make sure there are no obvious or hidden mistakes. We'll determine if we made the right decisions in a prior year, and we'll better plan for what we can expect things to look like in the year ahead. If your advisor isn't looking at your tax return every year, then you're likely not getting the tax planning help you need for lifetime tax reduction. It may be that your advisor doesn't specialize in this pillar of planning. We see this situation often. People paying a full price, but missing one of the most important pillars in their retirement plan. Conclusion. I encourage you to get advanced help with your tax planning and to act on it. Our firm has a list of over 100 tax-saving strategies we use with our clients every year. Many people don't maximize their tax planning because they don't know or understand how to do so. This chapter gave you an initial taste of the importance of tax planning, and you can read my book, I Hate Taxes, for a complete dive into tax planning and to get an understanding of some of those 100 tax-saving strategies I mentioned. Let's move on to Pillar 2, investment planning. Chapter 2, Pillar 2, investment planning. The biggest concern we hear when it comes to investment planning in retirement is this. I do not want to worry about checking the market every day on researching every investment I choose. Many are worried about missing opportunities by taking on too much risk or too little. Others are worried about deciding how to follow market trends and are concerned about making emotional decisions with their life savings. Let's break down these concerns. Once you're in your near retirement, you may want to change your investing strategy. It may be time to come down the mountain into the distribution phase. Have you heard the saying, what got you here won't get you there? This effectively communicates the idea of having an investment plan when in or near retirement. Think of investment planning like a football game. You've done the work to save and accumulate a significant amount for your retirement, which puts you on your opponent's 20-yard line on 4th down, winning by 7 points with only 2 minutes left in the game. You have options. You can kick a field goal or go for it and attempt to beat your opponent by more points. You've already won the game. Don't make the mistake that costs you. It's the same thing when it comes to your investment plan. Do you want to take on more risk than you need? Or do you just need a reasonable rate of return that will keep up with inflation so you will not outlive your money? Picture a tape measure extended to 90 inches as a representation of your personal life expectancy. Whatever your current age, you'll see how long you have to plan for so you don't run out of money before you run out of life. When you're 25 years old, you have a long way to go on that tape measure until you see the 90 marker and before you have to start taking from your investments. Is it okay to invest more aggressively and for growth right now? Of course it is. At 25, you have enough time to make back a market downturn. You have an opportunity when the market's down. But when you're farther along that tape measure, say closer to 60, and in the retirement or distribution phase, withdrawing money from one or more of your accounts, do you have enough time to make up for a market downturn? How would it feel to spend your retirement wondering if you'll have enough to live on? Now, understand that this will depend on your risk level, income needs, investment balances, and whether you have a pension or not. Many of our clients can take as much risk as they want or as little risk as possible because they have done a great job saving and or have pensions. The buckets. In or near retirement, you need a rock-solid investment plan that protects and grows your life savings. What does an investment plan look like? We like to refer to 2 types of buckets, the protection bucket and the growth bucket. This is how we communicate with our clients to simplify the complex topic of investment planning. First, you must understand the investment concept that risk equals return. The more risk you take, more chance of loss, typically the more return, growth of your investment, you can expect to receive over time. A 25-year-old can expect more return since they'll likely take more risk. A 60-year-old, however, may want to trade less return for more protection and less chance of loss. We always ask potential clients about where they sit on a risk scale of 0 to 100. 0 is an investment with no risk, but with a 3 to 5% return on average. And 100 is an investment in everything in the stock market where it could do plus 20% or minus 20%, but usually does more than 3 to 5% over time. Most of our clients answer around 40 to 60. We all want the highest return on our money every year, but that isn't always practical for someone who is risk adverse. I know what you're thinking. Well, Joe, it would be nice to have an investment that gives me a guaranteed 50% return each year with no risk. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist. I tell people all the time there is no perfect investment. And if anyone tries to sell you on a financial product or investment that's all sunshine and rainbows, you should probably run away. Every investment has pros and cons. What's good for some people might be bad for others. Make sure you have a financial plan that serves your purpose for your money, respects your risk tolerance, and positions your investments in the best way to meet your goals when you need the money. We work with families who have 90% of their money in the growth bucket. They don't plan to touch the money, and maybe they want to leave the biggest inheritance possible to their children. These families are fine with taking risks. They understand that. With a diversified investment plan, what goes down typically comes back up. We also work with families who have 90% of their money in the protection bucket. They see no reason for taking risks. They have enough money and don't need 10% or more returns every year. They want to keep up with inflation and protect their principal so they don't lose money. Typically, money was tight for them while growing up, and they learned that money equals security. To have the peace of mind they need with their hard-earned life savings, they want to make sure it's there for them. Whatever bucket you prefer, there is no wrong answer as long as your goals can be met. Everyone's situation is different, and you need the right allocation for you, your goals, and your plan. Protection bucket. The protection bucket is made up of investments where a decline in the stock market won't cause you to lose your principal. As a result, this bucket may not return as much money as a growth bucket. Our goal with the protection bucket is to get enough return to keep up with inflation. The best investment for the protection bucket will change over time. Which investment is best here depends on interest rates and the vehicles available in the marketplace. Don't forget, your investment decision depends on your goals and your time horizon for needing your money. We have a plethora of different options for our clients to choose from. The type of investments that could be used in the protection bucket include bank accounts, money market accounts, treasuries, annuities, and certificates of deposits or CDs. All of these options have pros and cons, so you must do your due diligence on what is best for you. Growth bucket. Think of the growth bucket as nearly the opposite of the protection bucket. In the growth bucket, we're looking to see more return than the protection bucket. Most people have their money invested in typical stocks and bonds, the 60-40 portfolio. Let's break that down to see how that has done over time. In our opinion, today's world offers better ways to structure a 60-40 portfolio to seek more growth and less risk. If your investments are structured this way, your money is at risk. I say that because bonds aren't fully protected. Most people think of bonds as protection for their portfolio, but that's not entirely true. Bonds have had losses at times. Think back to when an aggregate bond index was down almost 20% from the high on August 7, 2020 to October 20th, 2022. This means that over a 2-year period, if you had $500,000 in BND in your IRA or 401k, you would have lost $100,000 of what you thought was protected money. How would you feel? Many of our clients aren't comfortable taking the amount of risk and would rather have something protected and predictable when we can reduce the amount of risk in our clients' portfolios while still seeking bond-like returns, if not better, over time. We don't recommend high-risk investments in the growth bucket. Instead, we prefer a diversified portfolio, not having all your eggs in one basket. This means a portfolio which consists of many individual stocks and low-cost exchange-traded funds, ETFs, index funds, investments where you can invest in hundreds of stocks with one investment. Such a diversified portfolio might include investing in large and small companies, U.S. and international companies, value and growth companies, and technology, healthcare, real estate sectors. We would recommend investing in hundreds of companies to plan for worst-case scenarios. For example, let's say a stock goes to zero. If you had all your retirement savings in one stock, you could lose everything. If you invest in over 100 companies in addition to that stock, you won't see a significant loss in your investment unless there's a depression and everything in the market loses value. But we're all in trouble if everything in the market loses value. Blending the buckets. Why are the buckets important? The protection bucket is for the portion of your wealth that you invest more conservatively or in less risky instruments, but that still earns some profit. The growth bucket allows you to take more risk and hopefully earn greater profits. You need both to grow your hard-earned money and to beat future inflation. But how do we do that so that you are still comfortable with the allocations? As mentioned, it depends on factors such as your risk level, income needs, investment balances, and whether you have a pension or not. I'll share a few real-life examples. One of the families we work with has a pension worth $50,000 per year, Social Security equal to $60,000 per year, and $1.2 million saved. They only need an annual income of $80,000 to live on. So we decided to allocate only $200,000 toward the Protect bucket. The reason is that they wanted to seek a higher return knowing their pension was considered part of their protection bucket. They wanted to have enough protection to cover income for emergency expenses that could arise, or for spontaneous things they would decide to spend money on. As we have mentioned, to add a twist to this, they also could have taken a zero risk if they wanted to, since their pension and Social Security covered their income, as they do not need double-digit returns to ensure they have enough investments to live on. Another family we work with has no pension, $70,000 of Social Security, and $5 million saved. They need $150,000 per year in income to live on. They are worried about the sequence of returns risk. We will discuss this in the next chapter, so we decided to put $800,000 in the protection bucket to ensure they had income for at least 10 years if the growth bucket was down. They could have allocated $400,000 to cover 5 years of income, as it is unlikely the growth bucket would remain down for 5 consecutive years, but chose to play it safe instead of seeking higher returns. Another family served in a similar situation opted for a more growth-oriented approach. Now, remember, a 60-40 portfolio would have encouraged them to have $2 million in the protection bucket. That could represent a significant missed growth opportunity over time. As you can see, there are many ways to look at investment allocation. That is why it is crucial to review your specific situation first before making a decision. Watch out for only following cookie-cutter approaches like the 60-40 portfolio. Eliminating unnecessary fees. I believe that fees are only an issue in the absence of perceived value, and value is perceived differently by different people. Let me illustrate with an example. Let's say you need to buy a car. You have your choice of two, a brand new Cadillac or an older beat-up car. For the same amount of money, say $10,000, you could buy either one. What would you do? My guess is you would opt for the brand new car. This is what I'm talking about with the value when it comes to paying for financial advice. Some investment management firms do one of the 5 pillars but charge a full price. That's what I would call the older beat-up car. There are also comprehensive retirement plannings that do the right thing for the client, 5 out of the 5 pillars, for the same price. That's what I call the brand new Cadillac. We strive to prevent our clients from paying unnecessary fees and ensuring they get the most value for what they pay. We see people who come to us with all-in fees of 2 to 3% or more. High fees to that extent will eat into your returns over time. For our clients, as mentioned previously, we look to use low-cost investments like stocks, index funds, ETFs. There are many types of fees we'll want to make sure are appropriate. One of these is internal expenses. You need to be aware of internal expenses that could be added to your advisor's management fee. Go into Morningstar and type in your fund's ticker symbol, and you'll see the internal expense of what you're invested in. If your financial planning hasn't told you, consider it a hidden fee. Stocks have no internal expenses, and index funds ETFs ordinarily have low internal expense fees. We see many people with mutual funds which have higher fees. Mutual funds aren't necessarily bad investments, but most don't outperform a well-diversified portfolio over time. This means you're paying an added cost on top of an advisor's fee for potentially no reason. One thing I like about mutual funds is that they require an active investment approach instead of sitting back. Your financial planning firm should be actively managing your investments as part of your management fee, not as an added cost. We reduce fees for our clients because we do all investing in-house. On the protection side of your plan, there are options that don't charge you fees. For example, if you put money in a bank-related product or insurance company, you may not have any direct fees coming out of your return. Think of a CD. If a CD gives you 3% return on your money, then you get a full 3% return. No fees come out of that. Be aware of other fees like trading costs, sales charges, and platform fees. Industry expert Michael Kitces did a study on the average all-in costs of financial advisors and found that the average cost was approximately 1.5% for those with 1 to 2 million of investable assets. We believe families should be paying less than that to get retirement planning guidance for all 5 pillars. Make sure you're aware of the total cost when you invest. Some advisors or investment companies can be sneaky. I've seen firms charge a 1% management fee, but then have a company helping them with the investments that charge 0.5% on top of that. There still may be internal expenses as well. And remember to make sure that you are getting all 5 pillars included in your fee. If you are only getting 1 out of the 5 pillars but paying a full price, you may want to ask for a discount to find another retirement planning firm to ensure you're getting the ongoing value you deserve. Professional investment management. When it comes to investment management, we don't recommend throwing darts when deciding which investments and funds to invest in. Our firm uses an in-depth and calculated process to decide which investments to suggest for our clients. We also try to follow and take advantage of market trends, which could allow us to overweight a particular part of the market if we expect more upside there. In my opinion, investing on your own as a do-it-yourselfer project isn't a promising idea. Imagine meeting with an advisor who has one client, no credentials, and admits that all of their investment choices are inescapably emotional. They have no thorough research or reasoning for investing the way they do. Would you trust this advisor with all your retirement accounts? But that is exactly what you are doing if you are a DIY investor. There are too many factors to evaluate, and making the wrong investment choices could cause you to have significant loss or take on more risks than you need. Our approach analyzes the financials of every company and fund when deciding what to invest in and what not to. We review balance sheets, cash flow, profit margins, return on capital, and other financial data that gives us a feel for what we might invest in. This is something the average investor doesn't consider. We can't time the market, but by following market trends, we can position our clients' retirement savings much better than throwing darts and hoping the investments do well. We also recommend making sure the financial planning team you work with uses the help of a certified financial analyst, CFA, when making investment decisions on your portfolio. The CFA credential is the gold star credential in the investment space. Conclusion: do you have a plan or a portfolio? A portfolio is a junk drawer of different investments that don't necessarily work together or have a specific purpose. A plan is everything we mentioned above to ensure you're not taking on more risks than you need to, while trying to ensure you see enough growth to keep up with inflation. Many people we talk to only have a portfolio. In retirement, a plan is far more comforting. The next pillar of our strategy is Pillar 3, income planning. This is where we decide how to structure your plan and choose investments for retirement income to get you that retirement paycheck. Chapter 3, Pillar 3, income planning. The income planning pillar answers the following questions. Which accounts should you take from? Roth accounts, traditional accounts, or taxable accounts? And what is the tax impact? Which investment buckets, protection or growth, should you pull from? How do you avoid market downturns to ensure you don't run out of money? When should you take Social Security? People who meet with us often ask, how are we going to plan to get a paycheck for life once we stop working? Now it's time for them to create their own paycheck. For most people, this is something different from anything they have ever done before. Your retirement years are much more complex than your working years. Retirement takes much more intentional planning. Your employer is no longer responsible for providing you with an income, so you must do this yourself in retirement. Without a paycheck coming in, you must decide when to take Social Security. You must decide which investments and which accounts you'll take out from and when. Make a plan so that you can get a paycheck for life. That's how you'll reduce or eliminate the common concern retirees have of running out of money. If done correctly, your income planning may not maximize the amount of juice you can squeeze out of your lifetime of earnings. If you've accumulated a significant retirement nest egg, you may not need to save more. I like to say, you may not need more money, you may just need a better plan. Do the necessary income planning so you know where and how to get that retirement paycheck. Income planning is a bigger concern than it ever has been because people are now living in retirement that lasts 20 or 30 years. We call this longevity risk. In 1900, the average life expectancy of a newborn was 32 years. Fast forward half a century to 1950, the life expectancy was 58. Now our life expectancy in the United States is 74.8 years for men and 80.2 years for women. If you want to get your heart racing, look at the increase in lifespan beyond age 100. There were 89,739 centenarians in 2021, or about 2 centenarians per 10,000 population in the U.S., which is nearly double the rate from 20 years prior in 2001. What if that number again doubles in the coming 20 years? Well, guess what? It won't. It's projected to increase sixfold to 589,000 centenarians by 2060. Will you be one of the new centenarians? You just don't know, but you can plan for it. That's the lesson here. We must plan for living much longer than we ever have. How can you plan to get income for life? First, you must consider Social Security. Social Security covers about 40% of a person's income in retirement, on average. You must find a way to get the other 60%. How are you going to do that? Many of our clients have pensions to cover all or a portion of that gap, but most people would answer through the investments we have saved up over the years. Now let's talk about taking that big bag of money and turning it into an income stream. That process takes us back to our protection and growth buckets. The buckets again. When building income plans for our clients, we like to structure our investments by having 2 buckets, protection and growth, as we discussed in the last chapter. Over the next 10 years, we could plan to take income from the protection bucket. We need to ensure that money is protected to avoid the sequence of returns risk, as we'll discuss in the following section, or the risk of taking money from our investments when the market is down. If the market is down when you're withdrawing money from your investments, we refer to this as a double loss. One loss because the market is down, and another loss when you reduce your total wealth by spending it year after year for income and retirement. After 2 losses to your nest egg, you need to know how long it will take to come back, and if you have the time to wait in retirement for it to come back. The protection bucket is so important for your first 10 years of income. Now, we could hold more or less than 10 years in the protection bucket. It is a simple rule of thumb, and it depends on the client's risk tolerance and situation. 10 years can be a good rule of thumb if you want to play it safe, considering that over the last 50 years, a diversified portfolio has never been down over a 10-year period. If the market goes down, you'll have enough time in your protection bucket to buy time in the market. In other words, you'll be able to weather a downturn while you wait for the market to come back. Waiting also allows you to see growth more comfortably in the growth bucket, which could allow you to outpace inflation over the years and continue to grow your nest egg. Sequence of returns risk. What exactly is sequence of returns risk? The risk that market declines in the early years of your retirement, paired with your ongoing withdrawals, could deplete your finances sooner than you want, thereby significantly reducing the longevity of your portfolio. What does that mean in plain English? You live longer than your money does. Again, we see many people who are preparing for or in retirement take on too much risk. They haven't made the transition to start to protect their wealth. They're still hanging out on the accumulation side of the mountain. Let me show you the impact of not protecting your investments if the market goes down during the early years of your retirement. The Smith family and the Johnson family have the same retirement situation, except for one difference: the year they retire. They each have $1 million invested in the stock market and have withdrawn 4% from their investments each year with an assumed 3% inflation rate. The Smiths retired in 1996. What happened in 1996? The dot-com boom. They happily saw great growth in their investments early in retirement. The Johnsons retired in 1999. What happened in 1999? The dot-com bust, and the market went down. The Johnsons unhappily saw a great decline in their investments early in retirement. The Johnsons didn't see the growth of the stock market early in their retirement and instead were met with the double loss concept: stock market down plus withdrawing 4% per year from their investments. They never had enough time to make it back up. Because of the timing of their retirements and the state of the stock market, the sequence of returns for each of them, the Smiths ended up with nearly $2 million more than the Johnsons. The previous chart shows how the two retirements played out. As you can see, when the Smiths hit the dot-com bust, they had nearly $1.9 million and had taken out income for the last 4 years. So even though the market crashed, they still had over $1.4 million, more than they started with and already 6 years into retirement. Not much to worry about for them so far. But what about 2008? We all remember how badly the stock market dropped. Well, they still have $1 million. And they're over 10 years into retirement. Taking all the income they needed over the years, the Smiths still have more than they started with. That's a good place to be. As for the Johnsons, they saw a market downturn early in their retirement. Their $1 million turned into $500,000 within 3 years because of the double loss. 3 years into retirement, and they already have half of what they started with. The market always comes back, you say? Yes, but do they have the time for it to come back? As you can see, after the second bear market, the Johnsons were left with less than $200,000 in their investments. How long will that last them? How long will they live? Poor timing can lead to these concerns. How do we plan for sequence of returns risk? By having a plan. In the bucket approach, we provide a plan so you can enjoy retirement and not be concerned about taking out money when the market is down. Planning for inflation. Our goal is to always inflation-proof our clients' retirement plans. This means we must get enough growth on our clients' income to keep up with inflation. Historically, inflation has been around 3%. So if you need $5,000 a month to live on today, in 20 years you'll need $10,000 a month to live the same lifestyle. Inflation mostly impacts retirees because you go from making an income to no longer working and living on a fixed income. You need to plan accordingly. If you don't plan correctly, you may have to work longer. The good news is, if you plan correctly and implement a retirement income plan like we're talking about, then you'll be able to statistically increase your chances of success and live the retirement you dream of. We plan for inflation by positioning our clients' investments in the correct way, the bucket concept we've been discussing. For those first 10 years of retirement, you pull your income from the protection bucket. That gives you 10 years' time in the market to get growth for your growth bucket investments. We would also suggest seeking investments in the protection bucket that will outpace or keep up with inflation. Social Security planning. Everyone says that Social Security is running out. But why do they say that? Because Social Security is in trouble. Let's look into the numbers. 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 every day, as had been the case for the last 10 years, and will be for 10 more. Large numbers of Americans are entering the system and now need their Social Security benefit. You might be one of them. Plus, not as many people are paying into Social Security today. Back in 1935, there were over 40 workers for one retiree, and now that ratio is down to 3 to 1. Social Security also wasn't designed to be paid out for 20 plus years. As more people, the above-mentioned boomers, need Social Security, these numbers lead to concerns. I don't think Social Security will run out for baby boomer generation. Our legislators can make a multitude of changes to keep it in place. The last time the federal government saved Social Security was in 1983. That seems like a long time ago, but the U.S. Congress can do it again. How? They changed the retirement age and they can do it again. Now, Social Security can be taxable when you take your benefit, which wasn't always the case, and they could give fewer cost of living increases over time that may not fully keep up with inflation. As mentioned earlier, on average, the Social Security benefit will account for 40% of a retiree's income in retirement. So let's plan on Social Security being there for you. Now that you understand more about Social Security, you'll want to know the best time to start collecting. The magical answer is, it depends. I've considered not using that phrase anymore. I was at an event talking about Social Security, and a man came up to me after and told me, "I love the event, Joe, but you need to stop saying depends. You're talking to a bunch of old folks." Hopefully that made you laugh after all the doom and gloom about the current state of Social Security. But seriously, when to take your benefits depends on many factors. One of the most important factors is health, or in other words, how long are you going to live? I'm often quoted as saying, "Tell me when you're going to die and I'll tell you when the best time to take Social Security is." Obviously a joke, but it rings true. If you die early, waiting to take Social Security could be a mistake. If you live a long time, taking it early could lead to a less total money received from Social Security over the years and a much lower benefit in your later years. I know the analytically minded reading this book are wondering, how long do I need to live for it to make sense to take Social Security at 70 versus taking it at 62? Or, in simpler terms, how long will it take to go 8 years without Social Security for the bigger benefit at age 70 to pay off? Any time between age 80 to 83 is the break-even of when it makes sense to take your benefit at 70. With life expectancy right around there, it can be tough to decide what's best to do. And that's why we look at other factors. Money needs. If you need the money now, you may want to take your benefit right away. Survivor planning. Are you worried about ensuring your spouse is left with the most Social Security benefit possible if you pass? Taking Social Security at 70 could provide your spouse with the highest benefit when you pass because the surviving spouse is left with the higher of the two Social Security benefits. Spousal benefit. The spousal benefit is for a spouse who hasn't earned as much Social Security or hasn't worked long enough to be entitled to a Social Security benefit. Under the spousal benefit, the lower earning spouse can elect half of their spouse's benefit if theirs is less than half. Taxes. Some people want to maximize their Social Security benefits by also being tax smart. They delay their Social Security and withdraw the income they need from their tax-deferred investments while they wait. Why? Because they'll likely be in a lower bracket without Social Security, and they won't be required to take out as much in the future, which could significantly increase their income if they continue to wait to take out from those accounts. In other words, taking Social Security at 70 could lead to more tax planning in the highest amount. This could also allow you to avoid the infamous Social Security tax torpedo, which can happen when you take out too much money from your investments and force your Social Security to be fully taxable, and you end up paying a 40 to 50% all-in tax rate. I wrote an article called "Will You Pay Higher Taxes in Retirement?" about the tax torpedo and ways to pay less tax. Check it out. You can find it featured on kiplinger.com. Pension planning. One of our specialties is planning for those with pensions. We get lots of clients who come from our YouTube channel all across the country because of this focus. These are people who are former military or federal employees, state employees, firefighters, police officers, teachers, etc. We love helping these people as they are typically the prominent, hardworking Midwestern millionaires we talk about. Pension planning is complex. Those with pensions are forced to make lots of decisions on their pensions when they retire. Should they take a lump sum or partial lump sum? Should they take 100% survivorship option, 50% survivorship option, or none at all? Are they okay with none at all? Or would they be better off to get a life insurance policy to replace a survivor pension? We have software and strategies to help our clients maximize these decisions. These are one-time decisions, and a single bad decision here can lead to less in retirement. Pension planning also involves tax planning with pensions. Many of our clients with pensions complain about the amount of taxes they are paying in retirement. I use the word complain loosely, as this is a great problem to have. Proper proactive planning with a pension with tax strategies we have discussed can make a world of difference on the overall tax they will pay in their lifetime. If you find yourself with a pension and consider yourself that Midwestern millionaire, as we have talked about, then you may want to check out my book titled The 2% Club. This book is about pension planning for those with $1 million or more saved. I came up with the title from the concept that nowadays fewer than 20% of people have a pension and fewer than 10% of people have saved $1 million or more. When you combine these two percentages, you are left with only 2% of the population in this situation. Their planning will require more advanced strategies to ensure they plan not only for a high income, but also for a high net worth. This is a niche we specialize in serving. Tax-efficient withdrawal strategy. Deciding where to take income from your investments and understanding the tax impact can be difficult, as we have already mentioned. Should you take the income you need in retirement from your IRA or 401k where it is fully taxed? Should you take it from your non-qualified accounts, which are taxed at capital gains on any of the growth you have seen? Or should you take out from your Roth accounts, which are tax-free? These are not easy questions to answer. However, when a solution is successfully implemented, you can efficiently take out thousands of dollars more each year due to the tax savings you can realize. It is important to understand how the standard deduction plays a part here, along with the taxation of Social Security and the calculation of Medicare premiums, tax brackets, and projected future income. This is something we take very seriously with our clients to ensure that the income they get is maximized. Conclusion: a proactive retirement income plan like this requires constant diligence to make consistent changes, but not change for the sake of change. You take advantage of opportunities as they arise throughout your retirement. Interconnected to the pillars of tax planning, investment planning, and income planning is your healthcare situation. Healthcare costs can decimate your wealth, which is why having a plan is so important. The next chapter covers Pillar 4, healthcare planning. Chapter 4, Pillar 4, healthcare planning. Healthcare costs are a considerable risk in retirement since the majority of us will have health concerns in our retirement years. Fidelity did a study claiming that the average retiree will spend over $150,000 on healthcare expenses over their lifetime, not including long-term care. For a married couple, that could be over $300,000. How are we going to plan for this? Medicare planning. Let's start with the big Medicare decision you must make at the magical age of 65. We go through a review with our clients to decide what level of supplemental policy they should get in addition to their Medicare Part A and Part B. Part A comes at no cost. It's what you've paid for all your life. Part B comes at an additional cost and it's means-based, which means the higher your income, the more you must pay. It's not fair that certain people have to pay more for Medicare Part B. Think about it. Someone wasn't diligent in saving for retirement and didn't work hard to accumulate retirement savings, which means they have a lower income. Someone who made sacrifices to save for retirement and spent more time planning their retirement is penalized by having to pay more for the same Medicare coverage. Planning for Medicare premiums serves as an excellent example to show you how the pillars are interwoven. Pillars 1 and 3, tax planning and income planning, are necessarily precursors to good healthcare planning. We want lower Medicare premiums for our clients, so it is ideal for them to show the IRS a lower income in retirement, income planning and tax planning for moving money to tax-free accounts. You must be meticulous about taking money out of your investments and closely examining the tax consequences. Supplemental Medicare plans. Once you have Part A and B in place, most people need to start looking for a supplemental policy and a standalone prescription drug plan. Part A and B may not be adequate for most. I suggest you work with a Medicare expert who understands the Medicare marketplace. Our clients meet with a Medicare expert on our team 6 months before they take their benefit. Together, we shop for the best plan at the best cost while also considering health history and possible medications. There are hundreds of plans out there, so get expert advice to ensure you make the right decision. Long-term care planning. As we all know, long-term care is a significant concern for retirees. People are living longer, but not healthier, which means many people may need skilled nursing one day. Statistics show that 70% of retirees will need long-term care at some point in their life. The average long-term care stay for most is around 2 to 5 years. When we talk about long-term care, we're talking about needing help with the activities of daily living. There are 6 main activities elderly people need to be able to do for themselves or consider getting care: bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, getting in and out of bed or a chair, eating, and continence. You also must consider cognitive impairment, another cause of needing long-term care. Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia are becoming more common, and these conditions can not only prolong the need for long-term care, but also require more specialized care, which could be costly. Long-term care assistance can be provided in many different ways. A nurse could come to your house to assist you. You could go to an assisted living facility with help nearby, or go to a nursing home where you can get consistent help. The type of assistance will depend on your need for help, cost, and comfort. Because those 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day, the need and cost for long-term health care is skyrocketing. Think of it as supply and demand. The fewer nurses and skilled caretakers we have to take care of retirees with long-term care needs, and the more people needing that care, the cost will go up. And it's already high. Consider these statistics from Genworth's annual cost of care survey for 2024. Home health care aid, $77,792 a year. Assisted living facility, $70,800 a year. A private room nursing home, $127,750 a year. What are we going to do to help you prepare for long-term care and its rising costs? There are many ways to plan for long-term care, but here are 6 of the most common. Self-insuring. For those with more assets, self-insuring may be more realistic. Self-insuring means you pay from your retirement savings for the care you need. You'll see the pros and cons of the list below to help you decide if you can do more. If you decide to self-insure, structuring your investments appropriately will be even more important to prepare for a big potential bill coming your way. Many of our clients choose this option along with 1 or 2 of the options below. Medicaid. Medicaid planning is a strategy that tends to say, I'm not going to plan for healthcare, the government can take care of me. Many people plan this way because they may not have the assets to self-insure or do any of the other strategies we discussed. The good news, the government will provide care for you once you have depleted your assets to a low amount. The bad news, you'll have low assets, which means you may not be able to do anything extra in your retirement except to get health care from Medicaid. This could mean less money left behind when you pass away. Trust, estate planning. A Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is a legal document. Creating this trust allows individuals to qualify for Medicaid while protecting their assets from being depleted if long-term care is needed. It is a complex document and must be prepared by a specialist attorney. These trusts are not for everyone, but they can be a unique way to plan for long-term care risk. This strategy moves money out of your estate and into an irrevocable trust. The government can't come after it once the assets outside of the trust are spent down. Many people think irrevocable means you can't access these assets while you're living. That's right, but if the trust is structured correctly, you still retain access to your funds if needed. Once you pass away, these assets can be transferred to your final beneficiary without Medicaid coming in to take what they feel entitled to. There are many requirements to meet and to be aware of for the assets in the trust to be eligible, and these rules are ever-changing. We recommend working not only with a financial planning team, but also working closely with an estate planning team that specializes in elder law to ensure you are making an educated and informed decision. When evaluating this trust for our clients, we look at how many assets they have to determine if the cost to create this trust is worth the value they could potentially receive. Gifting. If you're worried about your money being spent down to be used for care, then one idea is to start gifting now and get the money out of your estate. This strategy is most popular for those wanting to give to a charity or to their kids. This gifting strategy is similar to the trust strategy we just discussed. The difference is that you don't have to pay to get legal documents drafted. It may not be as official as you can imagine. Like a trust, many requirements must be met, and you should consult with a professional to make sure you're taking the right steps. Home equity line of credit or home equity conversion mortgage. Be careful with a home equity line of credit. You need the right situation, a lot of equity in your home, and the right time, a low interest rate environment, for this strategy to make sense. A home equity line of credit could allow you to take out money when the market is down and not worry about taxes from your investments if you were to plan for long-term care that way. Insurance. Some people look to insurance as long-term care protection and security. All the strategies mentioned so far have their pros and cons, and planning with insurance is no different. There are many types of insurance you could use. Long-term care insurance is a way to leverage your money to get more money for the care you're looking for, but it can be costly and you have to be medically eligible for an insurance company to insure you. The cost of long-term care insurance has soared recently, making it less favorable in my opinion. We use this strategy less often now with our clients than we used to. That could change in the future, so it's important to stay up to date on long-term care planning. If you have a policy that was issued when long-term care insurance was more affordable, then you may have a really good deal. We typically encourage our clients to keep those in place. A permanent life insurance policy is another way to plan for long-term care. Some life insurance allows you to accelerate the death benefit for long-term care. Life insurance has the advantage of being a Swiss Army knife. You could cancel the policy if you don't need long-term care and take the cash value, which could be the amount you paid into the policy or more, to do what you wish with it. You also could have a legacy to your spouse or beneficiaries if you never need it for long-term care when you pass away. That death benefit would also be tax-free. The other advantage of long-term care insurance or life insurance is that the long-term care benefit you use from the policy is tax-free to you. Annuities are another way to use insurance to plan for long-term care. Annuities can be complex, and there are many options, but some annuities allow you to have protection when you need the money. You don't have to worry about a market downturn, so you can access extra money without a penalty if you need long-term care assistance. The best way to plan is going to be specific to your financial situation and goals. With our clients, we walk through and evaluate each option with them and help them decide what will be the best for their specific situation. As we discussed, healthcare costs, including out-of-pocket expenses, tend to increase the older we get and also over time with the need rising. We must be prepared and have funds available to pay for anything that may come up. We expect this to happen. And in some years, you may be able to use the high cost of healthcare to write off on your taxes, which can lead to tax planning opportunities. Working with someone who specializes in retirement planning ensures you're not leaving any money on the table. Planning for early retirement. We have clients who decide to retire early. Retiring early in this definition means retiring before age 65. This is something that needs to be planned for because early retirees lose their health insurance through work and are not yet eligible for Medicare, which doesn't start until age 65. This means they must seek assistance to get health insurance on the open market. There are many options to consider. Our clients get the help of our health insurance specialists who specialize in helping people under age 65 find the right coverage and plan to fit their needs and budget. The other important planning items for those retiring early deal with income planning. Early retirees may not be eligible for Social Security or a pension yet. If not, they must derive all of their income from their investments. The early retirement years are also an important time for tax planning. Since early retirees no longer have an income from working, it can be an optimal time to take advantage of the lower tax brackets and implement tax-saving strategies before other taxes come into play during retirement. Conclusion. Healthcare can be a big cost and a big risk in retirement. I've personally seen this risk not only in our clients' lives, but also in my family's lives. If you know someone who has had health issues in retirement or needed long-term care, then you know the severity of the financial and emotional toll. The best way to overcome healthcare risks is to be proactive and plan. It's time to wrap up much of what we've discussed, as well as expand on it, because Pillar 5, estate planning, is coming up next. Last but not least. Chapter 5, Pillar 5, estate planning. Before I get into the details of a successful estate plan, you must first understand what estate planning means. Estate planning is planning for the end of life. You'll need certain documents in place, you'll probably need to prepare for the loss of a spouse, and you'll need to be tax smart when transferring wealth, so that Uncle Sam isn't the biggest beneficiary of what you've accumulated. When it comes to estate planning, you must know your purpose and goals. Only then can you make the right decisions for your wealth now and when you're no longer here. So many people say they need to get an estate plan in place but never do. Everyone age 18 and up needs an estate plan, but 67% of Americans die without one. When should you do it? It should already be done. If it isn't, we encourage you to plan for one as soon as possible. We all know that anything can happen at any time. We help our clients facilitate estate planning documents, trusts, wills, power of attorneys, living wills, updates to beneficiaries, etc. And then we take it a step further. Too often, people go to an estate planning attorney and pay to get the documents they need, but then they never put them in place. Those documents never get used, and people aren't protected. Our team is involved in every part of our client's plan to ensure the client is getting what they need, and they do not need to go to multiple different professionals to get the job done. Sadly, this isn't always the case. Also, keep in mind, most estate planning attorneys can charge $4,000 to $5,000 on average to put a full trust and estate planning package in place. Some charge even more. We help facilitate this for our clients to ensure they can save money and extra work. We are a big advocate of this one-stop shop approach and recommend that those looking to work with a team have it in place to ensure nothing is missed. There are different levels of complexity to consider when it comes to estate planning. Let's start with basic documents, probate, and trusts. Basic documents. Financial and healthcare powers of attorney. A financial power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney are two documents. Everyone needs them, and they are the most important pair of documents to have. It allows someone to make financial and healthcare decisions for you if you couldn't. For instance, if you were in a car accident, traveling abroad, or developed dementia and couldn't make your own decisions, the power of attorney states who can. Living will. The living will document states your end-of-life healthcare decisions and wishes. It indicates things like stopping or not, life support, or proceeding or not with a surgery. Will or last will and testament. A will or last will and testament includes things listed later in this chapter, but it doesn't avoid probate. Other steps will need to be taken to achieve this, which we'll discuss below. A will designates an executor who carries out the provisions of the will. It will include instructions for how the beneficiaries will receive the assets. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, or known as HIPAA. HIPAA is a privacy protection law. You must make a written statement to allow someone to be able to talk to a doctor for you. The spouse can't get healthcare information without being named. Many people put their kids on this written statement as well. Transfer on death. A transfer on death transfers assets and avoids probate. It is mainly used for houses, rental properties, vehicles, and investment accounts that aren't retirement accounts. We see many people without this designation on their assets, which could be a costly mistake. Payable on death. Very similar to a transfer on death mentioned above, but a payable on death is for your bank accounts. Beneficiaries. Beneficiaries are for those who are inheriting the assets. We make sure our clients have the correct beneficiaries on file for their accounts. If there's a mistake or the listed beneficiary dies, the accounts may go to probate. Having beneficiaries on file ensures the ease of transfer when you pass away. How to avoid probate. Probate is a legal process following a person's death that deals with their assets and debts. It validates asset distribution to beneficiaries and resolves debt issues. Probate is overseen by the court and ensures the proper transfer of assets. Titling your retirement accounts and insurance policies by beneficiary will ensure they avoid probate. Titling your other assets like transfer on death or payable on death as mentioned will also allow those assets to avoid probate. Avoiding probate is important because a probate process could cost 4 to 7% of an estate that is not prepared for it. Probate is also time-consuming and difficult to work through. Most people want to avoid this tedious process. By planning the right way, you can avoid probate. Do I need a trust? Needing a trust depends on your situation. Some may not need a trust if they have more basic financial situations that can pass by naming beneficiaries and properly tidying assets as discussed, although there are some things to consider. A trust could be good to use under the following scenarios. You have a complex situation if you have multiple rental properties, property in multiple states, or numerous assets in different places, a trust could make sense. You don't trust your beneficiaries. If you want to limit your children on how much they can spend each year and not have access to all the money at once, a trust can structure specific payments every year of the children's life. You want to keep your money in the bloodline. You have minor children, under 18 years. A trust makes sure the children will have detailed plans for using the funds and know who will be there to monitor things. You want to avoid probate. This is one of the main reasons estate planning attorneys recommend a trust. But this could be done by proper planning without a trust in most scenarios as mentioned above. You are planning for long-term care as mentioned in Chapter 4 with a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. You seek to reduce estate taxes. This may not be a concern right now, but could be a concern if the government lowers the estate tax limits. We monitor this continually with many of our clients considering this limit has been less than $1 million in the past and would require you to pay around a 40% tax on any amount above the limit. As an example, residents of our home state of Ohio may not need a trust since they can designate their assets as transfer on death. However, other states do not accept the transfer on death designation, meaning that the only way to pass your assets to your loved ones without probate would be to utilize a trust. We have clients all over the country, so this is something that we always look into. Many of our clients get a trust to play it safe and ensure everything is covered. Survivor planning. In addition to the estate planning documents discussed above, you'll want to make sure your spouse has additional planning items in place if you were to pass away. When it comes to survivor planning, people in or near retirement focus on consolidating their assets wherever possible. Instead of having 4 different 401k accounts at different companies, you may look to roll those over to one account in an IRA. You'll make things easier for your beneficiary when you pass away, and they won't have to spend a great deal of time and hassle getting things organized. Many of our clients work with us to consolidate their assets and have a trusted guide for their spouse when they pass. We work with many couples where one knows everything about the financial situation and the other knows nothing, or next to nothing. They appreciate the comfort that comes from having a trusted and vetted team who will continue with the plan if something happens to the more knowledgeable spouse. If this describes your situation and you're not working with an advisor, you may want to do so now. Get a plan together and start building that trusted connection if you pass away before your spouse. Reducing taxes to beneficiaries. Back to my favorite topic of taxes. Remember how I said taxes are factored into every pillar? As you can guess, taxes play a big part in leaving a legacy to your beneficiaries. When you're married and one of you passes away, the surviving spouse is faced with something called the widow's penalty. You go from married filing jointly for the year your spouse passes to single the following year. There's a big difference between married filing jointly and single. The tax brackets are nearly cut in half, meaning the surviving spouse could pay nearly double the amount of taxes. I have a real-life client example to help you understand how severe the widow's penalty can be and why you must plan for it. Ralph and Vicky are married. The following chart outlines their incomes. The columns on the far left shows their current situation while both are living. As you can see, Ralph has a generous Social Security benefit and Vicky gets the spousal benefit, which is half of Ralph's. The couple also has RMDs of $60,000. Their current situation has a total tax bill of $10,823. What happens if Ralph or Vicky pass away and they do not make any changes to their plan? As you can see in the middle, one of the Social Security benefits goes away and the surviving spouse can keep the higher of the two. The RMD would remain the same since all the accounts would have the spouse as the beneficiary. In this scenario, the surviving spouse now has a lower income and must pay higher taxes. This is the widow's penalty in full effect. How do you avoid such a penalty? By planning for it before it's too late. Using strategies found throughout this book, you must lower your taxable income in the future by living on tax-free investments so that you're not forced to pay higher taxes in scenarios like this. As you can see on the far right of the preceding image, by integrating a tax-free vehicle like a Roth into a plan, we were able to significantly lower our client's lifetime tax bill, ensuring they do not overpay in taxes, or as I like to say, not tipping Uncle Sam. We allowed them to be in a lower tax bracket by taking tax-free income from the Roth and also provided for more of their Social Security benefit to be tax-free. The widow's penalty is one of my biggest problems with the tax code. An already vulnerable spouse is put at yet another disadvantage. Not only do they lose out on the Social Security benefits, but they also must pay more tax. Plan before it is too late is my advice. Reducing taxes to non-spouse beneficiaries. New laws require that beneficiaries must take money out of retirement accounts over a 10-year period under most circumstances when leaving money to, for example, their children. Why is this notable? People used to be able to stretch these accounts over their lifetime, giving them the flexibility to strategically withdraw the funds and not force them to take a large portion out over a short amount of time. But now, since the money must be taken out over 10 years, people could be forced into a higher income bracket, which means Uncle Sam gets more than he used to. Plan for this. As we mentioned earlier, transferring your accounts to tax-free investments like a Roth so your children won't have to worry about paying taxes on those withdrawals over the 10-year period could be a good idea to consider. Life insurance could also be a useful strategy to reduce taxes for your heirs. The death benefit from life insurance is tax-free for your heirs. Purpose planning. One of our favorite things to do with those we work with is to help them find more purpose with their money. Whether that means spending more or giving more, either now or when they pass away, many of the Midwestern millionaires we work with are great savers, but terrible spenders, as we call it. We have to encourage them to change their mindset at this point in their life, as they couldn't take all of this wealth with them when they pass away. We want to see our clients enjoy and see value in what they have worked so hard to accumulate. For some of our clients, that means traveling more. For others, it means retiring early. Some want to give more to kids and grandkids while they are still alive so they can see the impact of their gifts. Others would like to give to their favorite charities or churches to make an impact in this world bigger than themselves. Whatever that is for our clients, we want to see it get lived out. We do this by having intentional conversations about purpose planning and also by holding them accountable. Many people do not understand how much they have until we show them how well off they are, that even if they spend extra money each month, they will still be overly set up for success in retirement. These are exciting conversations and what purpose planning is all about. Conclusion. Estate planning means you have a plan in place before it's too late. Your loved ones will thank you. Procrastinating can be costly. Closing remarks. We started the book with the mountain image and we'll close the book with it as well. Going down the slope post-retirement is much different from going up the mountain during your pre-retirement working years. During the climbing time, you were thinking, grow, grow, grow. Now, during the descent, it's time to think protect, protect, protect. The goal of our 5-pillar approach is to protect the wealth you've worked hard to accumulate. We want you to enjoy it and reap the rewards. We specifically chose our firm's name, Peak Retirement Planning, because we help people climb safely down the complex mountain of retirement. This is what we do all day long. We plan retirements. We are different from most firms in our industry with our focus and approach. We're the specialists, not general practitioners. Retirement is the most extended and biggest vacation of your life. We encourage you to prepare and get professional help. If you haven't planned hundreds of retirements before, then you may want to get help from a team who has. When the 5 pillars of retirement planning are implemented correctly, you can enjoy a wondrous, worry-free retirement. Imagine how good it will feel to travel when you want, to volunteer where and when you want, and to retire when you want. You'll get to spend time with grandkids and not worry about missing key areas with your life savings. You can rest assured that you're set up to live a successful retirement. My advice to everyone reading this book is to get professional analysis and planning assistance, whether with us or someone else. Don't go down the mountain of retirement with a blindfold on and no trusted guide. You need someone, a whole team, who knows how to navigate you down the slope and has been there before. If our team can be of value to your retirement, learn more about us and schedule a session at peakretirementplanning.com. You've been listening to Peak Retirement, the 5 pillars to protect your wealth and live the retirement you deserve. Authored and narrated by Schmitz Jr.